Okay, for this demonstration, we're going to go over columns and creating columns in InDesign. You're going to need this information for exercise 10, so you can go ahead and download these files. Okay, in the class 12 files, there are 2 images in here that we're going to use. Some of the other items in that folder we're not going to need for this particular demonstration. And if I take a look at these 2 images, I'm noticing currently there are JPEGs. JPEGs are not what you want for print design. JPEGs are compressed file formats for the web. So what I need to do is take both of these images and bring them into Photoshop and convert them to a print file format. So I'm going to open up Photoshop. Okay, now that I'm in Photoshop, I'm going to open up those 2 images. So I'm going to go File, Open. I'm going to navigate to that Class 12 folder on my desktop. The 2 images here, I'm going to open them both up. I'm going to select the first one and hold down my Shift key and open. Okay, here they are. And I'm just going to take a look at the details now. They're already CMYK, so I don't need to convert them to CMYK by going Image, Mode, CMYK, because I've already done that for you, but you should make sure that your images are in CMYK to begin with. But the file format is going to be an issue. So I'm going to take this image and I'm going to go File, Save As. Okay, I'm on my desktop here, week 12, and instead of JPEGs, I'm going to go to the format area and I'm going to turn them to TIFFs. TIFFs is a print-friendly file format. And I'm going to say Save. This dialog box pops open. I'm just going to say Save again. I'm going to do the same thing for the other image. File, Save As. I'm in that folder already, changing the format to TIFF. Again, a print-friendly format, and save. Now these images are ready to be brought into InDesign. Okay, now I'm in InDesign. I have an 8.5 by 11 document. I've added 4 pages. And what I'm going to do is add a text box and fill it with placeholder text. To do that, I'm going to go to the Type tool and I'm going to pull out a text box from margin to margin. Then I'm going to go under the Type menu and go into Fill with Placeholder Text. InDesign places lorem ipsum in here for me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that box. And at the top here, I can change how many columns. I'm right up here where you've got a little icon that looks like columns. And I can change how many columns I want with that type. I'm going to go back to the Type tool. And I do want you to note that there are 2 buttons on the Type tool. You've got the A button, which gives you most of the character formatting for actual fonts and typefaces. However, I do also want to say that some of the information is repeated under paragraphs, and you have the column options up here as well. So you can go back and forth between formatting for character formatting and paragraph formatting. The columns are located here. You can come down here and you can change the space in between the columns. This is referred to as the gutter. This space, and these are columns. You can also go under the Layout menu. I'm up here and select Margin and Columns, and you have some of the same properties. You can come up here and you can change the margins for individual pages. Since I have page A selected here, I can tell because it's kind of a blue color. I can come in here and I can change the margins. It's not changing them on page 2, 3, and 4, but rather just the page I have selected. And I could come in here and change the columns as well. Okay, it's changing the guides. It's not necessarily changing the columns that I created using the type tool. I'm just going to go ahead and say OK to that. I'm going to click on my type box and get rid of it. These are just guides. If I click on page 2, I don't have those guides. If I did want them, I'd have to select that page, again go under Layout, Margins, and I could create guides for myself. And I could change the gutter and say OK. Page 3, nothing happened to page 3 because I did not have that selected. So you can open up your document from the get-go and you could select how many columns that you want before you even add a type box. I'm going to go back to page 1 here where I've got the 3 column guides. I'm going to draw out a text box again, pulling margin to margin, and I'm going to add text again by going Type, Fill with Placeholder Text, and I have text in here. I could come back up to the top and adjust the columns to match the margin guides. I'm going to go to page 2 and do the same thing. Pull out a text box, fill it with placeholder text by going Type, Fill with Placeholder Text, and I can adjust the text box to match my columns by clicking 2. I could go back and adjust the column spacing as well.